everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today we are going to be talking about my favorite Christian fiction of 2024. This is my favorite video of the year to film. I love this video so much. So yesterday it was the least favorite, so make sure to check that out. But today is my most favorite Christian fiction of 2024, and I own every single one of these physically aside from two. And someday I will own both, I'm sure. But this year has just been amazing. I literally have probably like 20 books to talk with you all. That's how many I have. These were at least 5, if not 6 stars. There's nothing below 5 stars on this list. So it's not every single 5-star that I did or gave, but most of them are here in this pile. So it's going to be a great time. I feel like it's going to be a great time. So it's going to be fun. So if you've read any of these, if you thought differently, let me know. I want to hear your opinions. I want to, talk about the books and stuff if you love them. If you didn't like them, totally okay. We all have different opinions, but I just love doing these videos so much. So this is also probably one of the hardest videos to film because I literally had to go. Thankfully, I had a list on here, but I had to go through all my shelves looking for the books. Thankfully, most of them were in these 2 shelves. So these really aren't in any order. I will say probably like what my top 3 to 5 are, but other than that, all of them were fantastic, and let's just get started. So the 2 I don't have physical copies of. The first one is Ribbon of Years by Robin Lee Hatcher. This was a surprising favorite for sure, but I still keep thinking about it to this day. I loved it, and it was just so different, and the lesson was amazing, and I just felt like the author did a fantastic job, and yeah, amazing. So in this one, we're following a woman who goes to an estate sale, and she finds this box of trinkets and stuff. And this older guy comes and starts talking about the woman who owned these items. And so it travels back into the past and talks about the woman's life and how she got each of the items in the box. And it's a beautiful story. And at the end, it could have gone in a really bad direction where it could have gone more worldly and secular in the main character's answer to something, and it didn't. It went in such a beautiful, faith-filled way, filled with love, and it was a perfect ending. I'm like, this is perfect. So loved it so much. Then the next one that I don't have a physical copy of is Some Like It Scot by Pepper Basham. Oh, I love that book so much, and I did get a early copy of that one from the author, and it was just such a good story. And main character named Katie. How can I not love it since my name is Katie? And set in Scotland with a Highlander. I was like, yeah, yes, please. I need a Scottish man in my life. And it was such a fantastic read. I loved it so much. It could not have gone better than it did. I don't think. I loved it so much. And I hope it's a series because it was just such a great story. I loved it. Cute rom-com with a character who's klutzy, and it's such a cute story. I loved it so much. So yeah, those are the 2 that I don't have physically. Now I can go into the very large pile that's next to me, which you can kind of see a little bit of the corner books right there in the corner. So the first one is When I Close My Eyes by Elizabeth Musser. I love this one. This was also a surprise favorite for me too, but I kept thinking about it. So this is about a woman who has suffered from depression for quite a long time in her life. She's got a very troublesome sister as well who has been in drugs and problems in her life as well. And she's also an author who also writes very controversial books. Well, she finds herself one day in an assassination attempt, and she's shot, and she's put into a coma. And so we're getting the point of view of her life as she's growing up, her daughter, as well as the shooter. And it's just an incredible story. There's also mental health representation as well in this story, but it's truly heartbreaking, but also is filled with faith and new hope. And I really love the story. It's so good. So the next book is The Seamstress of Acadie by Laura Frantz. This is my favorite book of hers that I've read so far. I think I've only read 2 or 3, but she is fastly becoming just one of my all-time favorite authors because, I love her so much. So she had to be on this list. This is about when the French and the British were fighting on Canadians' shorelines, and it's 1754, and it's a woman who has to flee and go to America. And so she runs into, I think she runs into I think he's an British soldier, I think he's a British soldier. And so she's like, oh no, like, is he really a bad guy? What's he gonna do? Because she runs into him on American soil. And it's a really good story. I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I could do with a reread at some point. Next book is book 2 in The Matchmakers by Jen Turano. This is Meeting Her Match. And I just love this. This is rom-com gold. I just thought it was so funny and so sweet. I loved the side characters. She creates just incredible side characters, and it was just funny, lighthearted, mixed with a little bit of high adventure and romance, and I loved it so much. I'm gonna say I loved it so much quite often in this video, just as a heads up. So the next one is Better Watch Out by Natalie Walters. I think I read this back in last December or last January, but because my reading stops in November because of these videos and stuff, that I had to add it into this year's video, and I could not have this video without this book, because this is an absolutely amazing book. The setting of New York City is done to perfection. I've never been to New York City, but you can tell the author has. Just the setting, the high action, the high romance. If you want a bodyguard romance protector, she's working on other books in the series. I'm so excited, and it's just it's such a good time, and I would totally reread this because it's so much fun. The action, the second chance romance with a new guy, because the first guy was a stinker, but I just love this one so much, and I can't wait for more books in this series to follow more of the bodyguards. Next book was actually a Christie Award winner this year, and that is Of Love and Treason by Jamie Ogle, and this one definitely deserved a Christie Award. It was so good. So this one, we're following Valentine and like the story behind Saint Valentine, and so this is like biblical fiction era in Rome AD 270, but I think only Paul's mentioned, but don't quote me, but he's not really actually really mentioned at all in the book. So it was just a really great story of faith, and there's this girl who is blind, and so she has the faith that she'll regain her sight, and so she tries to find I think she's trying to find Paul, and so she's trying to find him and hopefully regain her sight. And I really loved it. It had a great faith story and message in it, and it was just really great. And I love what I did with the edges. I painted like little roses to go along with the rose in her hand, so really just enjoy the whole story. Next is a book 2 in the Emissaries by Angela Hunt, which is The Sisters of Corinth, and book 1 made it into my list last year because these books are amazing, and I think honestly this is my favorite books that I've read by Angela Hunt. I just love this series so much. I can't wait for book 3. And if you liked the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers, you need to read the Emissaries by Angela Hunt. The books have similar themes in them and similar elements, but honestly I might like the series even more. I'm just saying. And I love that I feel like hers are done, I guess, a little bit more cleaner. Like, they're not, like, Francine Rivers aren't explicit, but they get to kind of head in that direction a little bit. Hers don't, so you don't have to worry about that. But it does have similar themes, and I just really enjoyed this book. Next one is, this author is like literally, honestly, I think in my top 3 authors of all time. I've only read 2 of her books. She has the best characters I've ever read, ever. These are the type of characters that I want to write. But this one is Coal Black Lies by Cindy K. Sproles. And this book, oh my goodness, these characters. They will have you crying. They will have you, rooting them on, have you praying for them. It's just an amazing book. I will say, though, right in the first chapter, the main character is trying to commit suicide. I'm going to say that now just as a trigger warning. It's literally right in like the first page. So if you can get past that, the rest of the book is amazing. It's so good, and I just loved it. I loved Joshua. I love just the mystery going on throughout the town. Like there's this family that's kind of like head of the town, and they kind of take over everything, the coal mine and the store and everything. So there's like this whole like hierarchy around the town and stuff. And Joshua saw his daughter get killed by one of the men in the family a few years ago, and so, you know, they're still grieving from the loss of their daughter. And one day he finds a little girl lost in the woods, and he's like, "Is this the ghost of my daughter? Like, what's this strange little girl doing in the middle of nowhere?" And so he and his wife take her in, trying to figure out where she came from. And the little girl has, I believe, Down syndrome. I believe it's not like, it's not named in the book because I don't think back then they knew what it was, but it's just, that little girl is such a darling. I love her so much. But this is such a great book. Another Christie Award winner that's on my list of favorites for this year is Offsides by Laurie Z. Scott. I love this one, and even if you're not a sports fan, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I'm not a sports fan, but I like sports books for some reason. And this one is about a girl who plays soccer, and this book has to do a lot with trafficking in it, so human trafficking. And so it deals with tough topics like that, but the author does such a great job at bringing it to light and sharing, like, you know, the signs of, you know, if you think someone is possibly going to be trafficked or has been trafficked in their school. And so honestly, like, the last like couple of chapters I was sobbing so much. That the last few chapters I was crying so hard, but it's so good. Really enjoyed that one. Then the next two are more Pepper Basham books. Apparently she made it 3 times on this list. I should have just bundled them together, but the other one I didn't have a physical copy of. And those are Loyally Luke by Pepper Basham, the 3rd and final book in the Skimar series. Luke finally got a story, and I love Luke so much. I could just have like a whole series of just Luke and be fine with it. Totally fine, but I love Luke. So if you like rom-coms, really, I don't know, He-Man type characters, but like with a softy heart on the inside, you gotta read that one. Then the next one is book 2 in the Freddie and Grace series, and that is The Cairo Curse. And I liked The Mistletoe Countess, but I loved The Cairo Curse. It was so good. I love the mystery. I love the adventure, the Indiana Jones type feel to it. 100%. I love this one so much. So those two definitely made it on the list. I'm running out of room here. I don't think I'll be able to fit all of them on that shelf. Then the next one, oh, I forgot, another Pepper Basham book. Apparently, Pepper, you write too many good books. Just stop it. Just stop it, okay? Next is Hope Like Wildflowers by Pepper Basham. This is the 3rd and final book in her, what's the series called? I always forget about something about My Heart Belongs in the Blue Ridge, I think. Yeah, My Heart Belongs in the Blue Ridge. I was right. So this is the 3rd and final book. I got a very early copy of this from the author, and oh, just this book just, I loved it so much. It was a perfect ending to the trilogy. I was so happy that she wrote this story. I was like, you need to write this story. I told her for like 2 years straight. I was like, you need to write this story. People are gonna love it. And I did. I loved it. It made me emotional. And there's a note at the ending that talks about how the book is literally like her granny's life. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, that is fantastic. Like, to bring a part of your own family's history into a book. That's just fascinating and so incredibly emotional. It made the book even more emotional, so loved it. Next is The Lost Library by Melissa Coslin, and I love this one. This is kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, kind of. We're following a woman who's kind of on the run from the mafia, and she ends up working for this guy who's kind of elusive. He's a bit of a beast, as I call him in the office, and he realizes straight away that she's in danger, and so he kind of puts himself in charge of taking care of her, even though she doesn't really want him to. She doesn't want to, you know, cause any problems for him or make him hurt or anything. So they kind of become on the run together, and they're also searching for an elusive library that supposedly has like original book manuscripts, and like books are just really old and very valuable. So they're searching for this very elusive library as well throughout. I loved this book so much. It was so good. Next is a complete trilogy that I read, and I think I read all of these in the same year, if I'm not mistaken. But it is the Alaskan Cyber Hunters series by Kimberley Woodhouse. This is my favorite Kimberley Woodhouse series ever. I love these so much. I haven't read all of her books yet, but this is definitely my favorite. So we have 26 Below, 8 Down, and 70 North. And I just love these so much. They are high action, a little bit of romance, but definitely high action. It does have a lot to do with themes of drug abuse as well in the series. So just as you know, as a heads up going into the series. But it was fascinating. The Alaska cybercrime and everything. I was having a great time with these. I had a great ride with these. Okay, those are gonna have to go over there because I have no more room. All right, then we have, let's see. Then I think we have quite a few romances coming up. So the first one is To Catch a Coronet by Grace Hitchcock. This made her an instant favorite in my book. It was just so great. It had a little mix of pirates in there. It had some romance. It had humor. It was just really great. So we're following a girl who is a country baker turned heiress. And so this guy, who's also pretty wealthy, they both kind of mix up their thoughts about each other. They both think that they're kind of poor, so like they think they can't really be together. So it's kind of funny how they, they're like, oh, like they find an instant attraction, but they feel like they can't be with each other because the other person's not of their class. Back then it was kind of hard, but I just really loved this one, and it was just so funny and so sweet, and I loved it, and I can't wait for the rest in the series because it's going to be just as good. Then I have book 2 in a Shanahan Match series by Jody Headland. The romance in this book, the best romance possibly of the year. I think this is the best romance. It's a marriage of convenience, and just that is one of my favorite tropes of romance is marriage of convenience, and this one was just, oh my goodness, it was so good. I loved it so much. And yeah, saved by the matchmaker. The hero in the book, Sullivan, I was thoroughly in love with him throughout the entire book. I was like, Sullivan, you are just like, you are a sugar cube. Like, oh, he was just perfect, and I just loved him. Next we have For a Lifetime by Gabrielle Meyer. Obviously these books are going to be on the favorites of the year every single year. I just love For a Lifetime. I can't spoil anything. Read these in order. These must be read in order. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Read these in order. You will not be sorry. And I honestly recommend you read them physically because I'm kind of listening to the audiobook on and off for the 4th one, and it's good, but I always enjoy these physically. So it's so good. It's so good. The last 3. I think the last 2 are like my top 2, but Beyond Ivy Walls by Rachel Fordham. I love this one. It's another romance that I absolutely love. I love the main character, Otis. Oh, I love him so much. I love him so much. He's the tortured hero, which is one of my favorite tropes again. But if you love, as I've said in the past, Beauty and the Beast or Rigoletto or Phantom of the Opera, you are going to love this book. I just love the romance. It was so sweet, and nothing else to say about that. It was just great. Then the last 2 are probably my top favorites of the year. I don't know. They're all favorites, if I'm being honest. That's why I don't do a top 10 anymore, because there's just too many books out there. And I read too many books. If I read less books, we probably would have a top 10. So these were kind of tied for first, pretty much. I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of favorites this year. But Love Overboard by Shannon Sue Dunlap. Again, this book made her an instant favorite in my book. I just love this book so much. It's funny. It's got older protagonists, which I love. So we're following, I think, four older ladies on this cruise ship, and they're matchmakers. And there's a little bit of a mystery going on, and it's just funny and lighthearted, and this is a perfect vacation read. If you're going on a vacation, bring this book. You will not be sorry. Then the last book, which I thoroughly love, and I will love this one forever, although I love all these forever, but this book. I love thrillers and mysteries. Thrillers are probably one of my favorite ones, but I just feel like so many in the market are similar, I guess. But this one really put me in high gear and just kept me there, and I could not stop reading it. Like, if I didn't have other stuff I had to do or other books I had to read, this would have been done in 12 hours. Reading the ebook. Easily. Maybe even less than that. And that's Crisscross by C.C. Warrens. I've heard so many people talk about this book in like the past year or two, and I'm like, okay, it sounds really great. Yeah, you love it. The cover is not really my favorite, but like, honestly, like, I was gonna meet the author, and I was like, I need to pick this up now. This was a perfect time. And now I literally want to binge read the entire rest of the series. And the rest of the series isn't even out yet. She has plans for like 10 books, at least 10. And there's only 5 out now. And I'm like, this series is going to be fantastic. Like, just based off of this one. And I thoroughly loved it so much. Like, I think this might be my favorite, like, suspense thriller book, I think, ever. And that's saying something because it's one of my favorite genres. But this one was so good. And I will also say, if you are not a fan of romance, pick this one up because there is literally, like, minimal romance. I will say there's, like, romance between, like, side characters, but, like, you don't see it that often. So if you don't like romance, I'd say pick this one up. It's so good. So those are all the books that I have. I'm going to try to hold them up. 1 second. This is going to be hard, isn't it? Okay, last two. I don't think I can hold all these up on camera. I can try, but okay. I might have to, like, literally put this in 2 piles because it's going to be tough. Okay. Okay, this might have to be 2 piles. Okay, we're going to do 2 piles. Here we go. All right. 2 piles. Oh, goodness. This is going to be tough. So this is also for the clip bar, too. So I need a thumbnail. Okay, one in one hand. Here we go. One in the other hand. We did this before for a different thumbnail that's coming up, so we should be able to do this. There we go. That's all of them. There we go. Hopefully my shirt isn't showing because I'm pulling up my shirt at the same time. Okay, that's the best you're going to get. That's all of them. I'm glad you kind of did the B-roll there so you could see the struggles of trying to make a thumbnail. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.